Wow, hard to believe season 3 is wrapping up, and that's what this episode is all about. And I'm going to share what I got out of the conversations I had with my guests, as well as what episodes I think you should definitely go back and either re-listen or listen if you missed them. There were so many good elements of belief systems, attitudes about sales, because when I talk to my clients and prospects, that seems to be something they have some heavy duty beliefs around that are getting in the way of them being really successful. I just find it really interesting that our mindsets can get in the way of so much of our success. Yeah, we get in our own way. I mean, Lord knows I could probably recite a lot of years I may have blown because I just couldn't get out of my own way. But here I am, sitting behind a microphone, sharing my stories and bringing whatever I can bring to you as far as guests and advice of things that I've learned. And I really do hope that you take it to heart because I mean it from my heart. And this episode is no different. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we just kind of went through, what I got out of it, some of my favorite moments, as well as what's coming. And let me tell you, next season, you are going to freaking love it because it's making me a little nervous and very excited. And I'll get into that as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the last episode of season 3 of my solopreneur life. Welcome to my solopreneur life. I'm Terry Pappy, your gracious host, and I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful episode for you. Sit back, relax, and let's have some real talk about what it is to be a solopreneur. The funny thing is, when I titled this season, Turning Fears into Clients, it came out of a lot of conversations that I was having with not only peer solopreneurs, but also prospects and some of my clients. And I found that the fears were always based in belief systems, things that they thought to be true about how they showed up in sales, what they were trying to avoid by doing sales work, and what that all meant. And the story they had around who they didn't want to be as a salesperson. You know, nobody wants to be pitchy or smarmy. Well, I don't want to say nobody because they're out there. That's why we've kind of got turned against them because we've been sold. We've been marketed to ad nauseum to the point where we're just like, here's my credit card, just take it. I don't know if it's going to be a result that I want or if I'm being taken advantage of. And so we've become so resigned, cynical, and so just kind of, all right, I'm complicit in going through your process because that's just how we do it in our culture, in our economy, and in business. And I'll just play along. And that's so boring. And what's funny is, as I think about it, I think we do it partly because we like the efficiency of it. We want to get things done and we're like, all right, where do I sign? And we just move forward. Or like, oh, I got to make this sale. And when I do that, I can achieve X or whatever the pressure point is that's making you behave in a certain way that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel natural. Now, all that said, when I think about my own sales challenges, and I have had many, I've kind of come to a place of peace about it for 2 reasons. One, I know my personality and my predispositions toward self-promotion, being pitchy, being salesy, being smarmy, basically being perceived as someone I'm not. That's like a big thing for me. And if you're a solopreneur, there's probably a good degree of that going on with you too. You want people to see you for who you really are. When sales becomes the topic and we have to get out there and sell stuff, otherwise we won't be in business for very long. We have to execute. But all of the stuff that comes up when we think about how we show up and who we are as a salesperson of our own services, of our own goods, it brings up a lot of stuff because we're essentially selling us. So when we're prompted to be authentic, when we're prompted to sell our stuff, there's a lot of insecurities that come up. There's a lot of stories that come up. And based on the track record that you or even I have had, will reinforce all of those beliefs. The first thing for me is my personality is not to be promotional, smarmy, salesy, pitchy. I don't want to come across that way because I don't like it. The other thing is I feel like I don't want to position myself as someone who's desperate for a sale, or that if I don't make a sale, I'm not going to be in business. I really like to position myself as a helper, a partner, a guide, someone who inspires, someone who brings solutions not for compensation, but to help someone just have a little bit of a breakthrough or find relief. And those two things are inherent in my personality. When I have those guardrails, it's more like a context that I show up in because I'm me. I'm Terry Pappy. This is who I've been my whole life. I have my personality, my characteristics, my fun, my irreverence, my self-deprecation, my authenticity. It's like I bring it all there. And I think at this point in my life, being in my 60s now, very young 60s, I must say, it's like I don't really care about what people think, about not being real, because it's penetrating. And I know when I show up that way with a client, or when I show up that way with even just a prospect conversation, I love asking the deep questions. I love probing. I love helping them see things from a different perspective so then they can generate the breakthrough. I'm not there to give them a breakthrough or say, this is how you should think or what you should do. It's kind of like taking their shoulders and just going like this, turning them a little bit in a different direction, saying, now look at it. And that's where I find the biggest value in working with someone. That's why I love one-on-one stuff. And I don't have a big team. I don't have any team. It's me. Right? I leverage technology very, very well. I will say that. But it's me. And my business is not huge. I'm not 7 figures and blah, 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 and all this stuff, creating all this scale and da, da, da. Oh, that just exhausts me when I hear people selling that stuff online. See, there's another indicator that supports my personality of being very resistant to coming across as a salesy marketer or whatever. You may feel that way too. And that's why I wanted to have this season and the theme around turning fears into clients, because what you do is unique to you. How you talk about what you do, how you talk about the problems you solve, how you exude your passion for what you do, which is all based in your talents and your skills and your experience. And when you become a solopreneur, it's to get that out there into the world. And it's going to be easy or it's going to be hard depending on the belief system that grounds it. Some of my favorite moments with guests, and I was very strategic about who I invited into this season. And I wanted to spend a substantial amount of time with them, which is why every guest that I had has a part 1 and a part 2. The first one, I wanted to be fairly tactical. I don't want to say a sales course or a sales training, but I wanted to bring on someone who was a sales trainer, and that's Eric Schulman. I spent a lot of time with Eric going through his Sandler sales training, which I really needed at the time. I really needed some structure and some understanding. I work better when I've had some sort of guidance that's put in front of me, and then going ahead and doing the guidance, like following the step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. And then once I get comfortable with it, I start seeing the spots where I'm not comfortable with it, and then I make adjustments. And that's exactly what I did with what Eric teaches through Sandler, and now he teaches independently. And I think that that has really allowed me to define my own sales approach, how I like to talk to people, work with people, and sell my services. Eric gave some really specific tips and tricks that you can do. So that's a good two-parter. The next one, I wanted to have another solopreneur who not only was an expert in sales, but also ran her own solopreneur practice. That's Darlene Perday. And Darlene and I also had a great conversation about what are some of the common pitfalls that solopreneurs experience when it comes to becoming a salesperson and being able to sell their services. And so we had a really good conversation about that. For me, that was like enough tactical stuff. That was enough understanding this is how sales works with solopreneurs and so on. The next guest I had, which I couldn't wait to have on this show, and I love having Naveed Body, because Naveed and I we don't get into the weeds. We actually get into the roots of the weeds. We're down in the dirt. We're like down in terra firma, looking at the plate tectonics and how things move around and what it is to be a human being. And I love our conversation. I think that was the best one of all my guests, and they were all great. But Naveed and I get into the psychology. We get into the belief systems. We get into, there's a little bit of tactical stuff there and some guidance. I always want to be able to provide things you can do, because being in action is so critical when you're a solopreneur. Just sitting there and like overthinking, which I am the queen of, by the way, overthinking where you're at or what you should do, blah, blah, blah. The best cure for that is getting in action. Just get up out of your chair, go do something. Sit down in your chair, work on your website, make a call, go for a walk, watch a course, watch a YouTube video, listen to my show. Be in action, move things forward. That's the best cure for any kind of confusion, fear, challenge, wherever you're feeling stuck, confused, resistant, whatever's there, just do something. Even if it's unrelated to your business. I mean, sometimes I'll get like just too much time on the computer or whatever, and I just have to get up and go for a walk. I did that this morning, in fact. I was like starting to go down that tunnel with no cheese, thinking about like, how do I sort my thoughts out around what I'm doing in my next season? By the way, I did sort them out, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. And those things just kind of like, it's like a pipe gets clogged. And I need to move energy, and often moving energy is moving your physical body. Get out and go for a walk. Those are the things that I really feel are going to help with moving any kind of needle when it comes to sales. All of the other like solo episodes where basically you got a monologue from me are ones where I wanted to pick one specific thing and focus on that, such as follow-up. Very tactical, but it's our thinking about follow-up that kind of screws up our follow-up. We allow other things to get in the way. We've come up with excuses. I didn't call him back because of this, or he didn't really sound interested, so I didn't do that, or she keeps changing the consult call schedule. Third time she's canceled on me, so I'm just not going to bother pursuing it. And then we appear like we're ghosting people when we do that. The follow-up is critical. I tried to make the season as rounded out as possible, even talking about AI and how AI can help you with sales. If you've been a listener, I don't need to beat that horse anymore. Please go back and listen to episodes that moved you, or if you missed a couple, because, we're all busy. And as much as I'd love for you to listen to my show every Monday when it comes out early in the morning, sometimes that's just not doable. But I understand. I'm not taking it personally. I just know that people have stuff to do. See, there's my personality. That's the authentic Terry coming through. Season 4 is going to blow the roof off. What I mean by that is I'm going to go into deep mode. I'm going to look at the things that we don't talk about. I'm going to address the things that are scary about being a solopreneur, the things that completely light us up about being a solopreneur. Distinctions between a passion-led business and a business that's guided by passion and driven by skills. And that's a huge distinction. I make that in my passion course, but I want to talk about what that means so it's easier to translate. I meet so many people who talk about what they'd love to do, but they don't give themselves permission to do it. Or they use excuses in order not to do it. Oh, I'm raising kids. Oh, I'm putting my son through college. Oh, I'm taking care of an elderly parent. Oh, I really need to rely on this current job I have because it supports the benefits I need for caregiving or whatever. Everyone, I get it. I totally get it. Everyone has circumstances. They've made choices in life. They're in their situation. But that's not an excuse to stop dreaming, to not fulfill on your heart's desire. And the thing that I think is most painful as a regret before we die, I don't want people to say, I wish I had. And that could be anything. That could be, I wish I had healed the relationship with my dad. Or I wish I had taken better care of my body and not drank myself into almost oblivion. I wish I had pursued that one job offer that my uncle gave me to take over his business. It could be anything. But having a regret for not living your highest excitement, as Bashar would say, for not pursuing that pebble in your shoe that's like, I've always wanted to learn how to ballroom dance, for example. I remember I took dancing lessons at Arthur Murray, and I loved it. And it was so much fun. And I'm so uncoordinated. It's like right now I'm doing PT for a torn hamstring tendon. And I'm having to do certain physical therapy exercises. And some of them are there's like several different steps involved, literal steps. And I'm like, all right, so the foot goes here first. It's like I have to really think about the movement before I can do it to get the benefit from physical therapy. You didn't know that I was going to be dropping that in there, right? It just popped into my head, so I thought I'd share it. But getting back to passion and skills and all that stuff, you can pursue any hobby or interest, obviously. It doesn't need to be a business. It doesn't need to be something that, like, okay, I'm going to make money at this. And sometimes we ruin our dreams by trying to make it into a business. So if you've always wanted to learn how to, for example, play pickleball, are you going to make pickleball a business? Unless you really get good at it and you want to become a teacher or a guide or somehow start your own league, like costume pickleball. I don't know. I got a lot of pickleball players in my neighborhood, so that's probably why it popped into my mind. Then that's fine, right? So as you're making these choices about how you want to show up in the business world, make sure it's something that you have enough skills and talent in that your passion can be the lighthouse for, but all those skills because here's the thing, here is the bottom line. This is all you need to hear in this whole episode as I struggle my way through it. These bookend episodes just, I'm usually all over the place because I'm wrapping the season, teasing the new one, and so on. The bottom line in business, and Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame says this over and over, especially now in our crazy economy. Execution trumps everything. You can be the best looking, you can have the best product, you can have the best of everything. All these people just lined up, hugest following, blah, blah, blah. But if you're not executing in whatever it is you do, whether it's an interest, hobby, or whether it's your actual business, more so to business, obviously, execution trumps everything. And if you can execute, if you can be in action and get things done and show results, even if you're struggling at first, right? That's very common for solopreneurs to struggle in the beginning. And if we have a big win in the beginning, then the struggle comes after that big win. And then that's when we kind of like level out the reality of, okay, oh, so this is what it's like to be a solopreneur. Execution will trump everything. So keep that in the back of your mind as like, that is like the ground layer of any type of decision when it comes to being a business and life in general. As we're moving into season 4, and I'm still working on the title of the theme. And this is what I mean. It's like, sometimes it just takes time to let things percolate up to the surface where you can access them. And we get so used to being in our routines, in our habits of thinking, our thought patterns, that we don't really create those little cracks where things can bubble up. And this is where, believe it or not, I'm going to say it, this is where AI can really help. And how I use it, quite frankly. I was doing a prompt and I asked the AI platform, give me some questions to help me find what's really there, or something like that, where I was really trying to ask it to ask me the right kind of questions so I could see or get access to what I really was trying to bring to the surface. You can do that too. You can do that every day of the week. I mean, these are the things that AI should be used for, especially now while it's still evolving, while we're still figuring out its place in our lives. And it can bring so much liberty to what we're trying to accomplish and speed things along. That's the best part. But giving us access to things that we normally can't see because we're myopic, we live in our own bubble. And unless we have someone outside of us who's skilled at pulling that out, we're never going to be able to access it. In season 4, I'm going to lay a groundwork for accessing what's inside, what you're really up to, and give you guidance to remove the barriers, which are often belief systems, often things that we use as excuses because we're afraid to fail or we're afraid to step out of our comfort zone. And believe me, we're very comfortable in general. We've worked our way up Maslow's pyramid, right? So we're doing okay. And we should appreciate every moment we have the opportunity to start a business or be successful, earn money, and exercise our talents and skills in the world. Season 4 is really going to put a topper on that. It's going to enable you to access those parts of yourself that you've not really been able to freely acknowledge or give permission to surface. At least that's my hope. And I've done this for myself in many ways, and some of the things that I've surfaced I don't really like, but it's given me the opportunity to address it, see it for what it is, understand where it possibly came from, which isn't always necessary because it's kind of like looking in the rearview mirror when you need to be in the moment and creating your future. And that's going to be a big part of it too. It's like, how do you want to create the world you want to live in? How do you want to create how you show up in the world? Whether you become a solopreneur or not, the things that I'm going to talk about in the next season are going to be applicable to life, to relationships, to how we look at our finances and our health and well-being. I want it to be fun for you. I'm going to end here because I'm super excited about developing season 4. So thanks for sticking with me, for listening to season 3 and hopefully prior seasons as well, as we work into our second year of My Solopreneur Life, a podcast that I am really enjoying bringing to you. Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it for this episode. Listen, the great news is there's another one coming, so stay tuned. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you do the prompt if this episode had a prompt and you get that homework done because you're going to be a better solopreneur. How's that for a maternal finger shaking at you? Hey, listen, thanks so much for being here, for giving me time of your day, and, for taking it on. So if you want to learn more and stay connected with me, just head on over to mysolopreneurlife.com. Thanks a bunch. See you soon. That was pretty good. I think I'll keep that one.